Thank you for that. An experience that I hope all of you can one day experience is to sit up here and hear the choir from behind you. Just hear the praise of God going out and surrounding you. I always love it. It kind of gives me the chills. So if you ever see me up here preaching and you see me just kind of look like I'm almost asleep, I'm not asleep, I promise. It's just that I'm enveloped by what's going on around me. So once again, and honestly, maybe for the first time, because honestly, when I was doing the announcements, I think I forgot to welcome you officially. So I'm so happy you're here in person and online. Thank you for being here. I am so very sorry I forgot to welcome you more formally during our welcome. Sometimes that's how this goes, though, isn't it? I'm so very grateful that you've chosen to join us here this morning. And even more so because today is Super Bowl Sunday, or if you're looking at how it's written out, S-O-U-P-E-R, Super Bowl. You see where I'm going with this. Today, the youth were collecting canned goods, and I appreciate all of your assistance in gathering those. I'm going to take those later this week over to the Millbrook United Methodist Church, to their food pantry there, where they will get used and help aid those in our community that need a little help. So it'll go to very good use. So thank you for helping that. And a final reminder to our youth, the ones back there, and if he doesn't know this is happening, something's really strange. The others, I'm hoping, and I'm assuming they're at home watching diligently from their couches or computer chairs, wherever. Youth, you do have a Super Bowl party tonight at the Spencer's house. Lucas, if you don't know by now, something's very, very wrong. Anyway, okay. Now that the business of being a youth minister is dealt with, we can get to the more fun part. Our text this week comes from John chapter 9, verses 1 all the way through 38. And once again, David, I am so very sorry that I had so much for you to have to switch to. But he did a good job. I'd given him a whole lot. So thank you for that. In this story, we have a man that was born blind, not due to the sin that he himself committed or his parents, which, that was the thought of the time, that if some affliction like this was upon you, it was because you'd messed up. You'd gone astray of God, and this was punishment. But this wasn't because of that. Oddly enough, Jesus tells us that this was because it was an opportunity to show the glory of God. So Jesus finds this man and learns about him and heals him. He spits in mud, spits in dirt and makes mud and puts it over this guy's eyes. Which I've got to tell you, if I was the guy, I don't know that would be the exact thing I was expecting to happen. If you're someone who's blind, you have eye issues, do you think you want somebody to put mud in your eyes? Have you ever had mud in your eyes? It ain't fun. It's not a pleasant experience. But this guy accepts it, and following Jesus' instruction, he goes down to the pool and washes his eyes, to which miraculously the man's eyes are opened. His vision is restored, and he can see. I can only imagine it's pretty obvious when someone can see when they haven't been seen, because the people around him, the people who knew him and knew that he was blind, immediately realized that something miraculous has occurred. This man that was blind can now see. And so they tell people, and those people obviously tell people, and they all come and ask the man, what happened? How can you see now? And the man, without skipping a beat, tells of Jesus. Tells exactly what has happened, tells of the spit, tells of the mud, tells of washing his eyes. That's a pretty awesome testimony. He's immediately going into action there. But as seems to happen quite often when Jesus does a healing, the religious leaders learn about it. And due to it being on the Sabbath, they start questioning the man. The main issue, as the religious leaders see it, is that Jesus is violating the fourth commandment. Now, I don't want y'all to have to count up and try to remember exactly which one the fourth one is. I'm going to read it from Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 through 11. It reads, "Remember the Sabbath by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the seventh day and made it holy. See, their understanding of how you were to act on the Sabbath was that doing even something as simple as helping someone in need, it violated that. It wasn't out of just pure meanness that they didn't want anything done on the Sabbath. They really thought and understood that to work, to act, to heal, to assist was breaking Sabbath. That was going directly against what God had told them to do. Yeah, it seems a little silly for us. You all know, we rarely in today's world spend an entire day where we literally don't leave the house. We count our steps and don't make sure we go over a certain step limit so we don't go into work. Have you ever done that? Try to count out your steps and go, I can only take 3,000 steps to go today. If I take 3,001, that's working, that's violating the Sabbath. But that's the kind of stuff that's going on at this time. They understood that there was only a certain amount of stuff you could do before you crossed that line. And so they're upholding this rule, this understanding of how to keep the Sabbath. It seems strange to us, but to them it was perfectly sensible. So when they learned that Jesus was working on the Sabbath, they were incensed. And they launched this investigation, calling in the man, calling in his parents, and questioning them. To their dismay, the religious leaders didn't come to a solution that they liked. After insulting the man, after bringing him back in, and obviously having the formerly blind man kind of turn it back on them and pointing out that it was them, it was the religious leaders themselves that were the ones that were failing to see what God had done. They threw him out of the synagogue. Which I'll tell you, when I first read this portion of them throwing him out of the synagogue, it didn't make a lot of sense. I'm going, okay, they threw him out of the building. But then it set with me for a little bit more. And I realized it's not just that he's been thrown out of the building. He's been thrown out of this community. The synagogue was not just meant to be this place. It was this group, this community, this believers. If you're thrown out, you were excommunicated. I feel like it's a term we might understand a little bit better than thrown out of the synagogue. But it meant that he did not have a religious home anymore. They cast him out. You know, we know Jesus goes and finds him in this very last section of our text today. And honestly, it's this last section of the text that stuck with me and gave me the idea of the title for this sermon. And to tell that, I've got to first tell you a story. What's a sermon without an illustration? What's a sermon by me without a story from my past, right? So, there's an older movie that I really hope you've all seen. If you've not, you need to watch it. Although, we'll caution, it does have some hard language a couple places, but it's worth watching. That movie is The Blues Brothers, starring Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi. Fantastic movie. Me and a buddy of mine, we can quote almost the entire movie. It doesn't hurt that we watch the movie at least once a year. And Mabel will tell you, we're insufferable to be around because we really do quote the entire movie. We even get up and do the dance numbers. It's a sight to see, let me tell you. But there are too many fantastic scenes in this movie for me to start describing them all because we will never leave here. So I'm going to do my absolute best to control my instinct and limit it to one here. And the one story I want to bring up, the one scene that I want to highlight is this one. So if you would humor me, I want to take you somewhere. We're going to go down to the Triple Rock Baptist Church with Reverend Cleophas James, played by James Brown. Those of you who've seen the movie will know that. This wonderful reverend, he gets up there and he starts a sermon with, honestly, one of my favorite starts of a sermon ever. When I woke up this morning, what I heard was a disturbing sound. The jingle. I got to contain myself. I'm sorry, y'all. Got to contain myself. In his sermon, he asks a question. And this question comes after the church has broken into song and dance. But in the middle of all of that, Reverend Cleophas James asks a question. This question is both directed to everybody in the congregation and to the Blues Brothers that are in the back of the church, kind of standing in the doorway. And it almost feels like it's directed just to them, while it's still directed to everybody else. That question and the title of my sermon is, do you see the light? Yeah, the Reverend asks again, do you see the light? Then he alters it a little bit in a way that I can't really verbalize the way he does. But he changes to, have you seen the light? Which, in this moment, that's when the light comes through the stained glass window. This blue light illuminates the Blues Brothers, and epiphany happens. They realize what they got to do next. But that's getting further in the movie than I'm tending to do, so I'm trying to rein it back. But those questions are the questions that I almost kind of imagine Jesus offering up to the religious leaders. I feel like he's kind of asking them, do you see the light? Have you seen the light? I want to sit with those questions and offer up a few additional ones for you all that build off that same thought. First, we have, do you see the light? And of course, have you seen the light? But my additions are, where have you seen the light? Where do you see the light? It's probably obvious right now, but the light I'm talking about isn't these lights in here, but it's the light is Jesus, which, we get that earlier in the text we have, but we get it in other places, and all throughout John at least. In John 8:12, we find Jesus saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. It's pretty clear that the light here is Jesus. This Sunday is, of course, Super Bowl Sunday, and it's a Sunday that means a whole lot to me. And it's not because the big game. It's not because the terrible food I'll eat later, because you have to eat terrible food when you watch Super Bowl. I feel like it's a rule somewhere. And it's not because I'm really excited about who's playing or even the advertisements. The reason it's an important Sunday to me goes back to my youth. My youth, every single year, we held a Super Bowl of caring on Super Bowl Sunday. Just like we have here. It's a tradition that I've done my best to bring over and continue here at Longview. My goal in it is to shine a light, pun intended, on the ways that we can be the light to the world around us. The ways that we can shine God's light in helping those around us in some of the simplest ways is giving a dollar, giving a can of food. I know when I grew up in my home back in Rockingham, my mom has a Lazy Susan cabinet. And in there, growing up, it was canned goods galore in there. She's since moved them, keeps them somewhere else. But I remember back then, every year when we got to Super Bowl Sunday, I'd look there and go, okay, what can I grab? And I'd fill it up. Mom would come back in and go, what happened to all my canned goods? I go, Mom, it's for a good reason. It's okay. She'd go, okay. The point is, it doesn't take much to shine the light to those around you. And for Jesus, it didn't matter. It didn't matter at all that it was the Sabbath, or that there were those around that would find fault with his actions. He knew they were going to find fault. He knew that no matter what he did, some people just weren't going to be happy. But he didn't care. He saw the need and he acted. In turn, the man who had been born blind finally, truly saw the light. As believers, our task, or rather our calling, is to be the light to the world. The answer to the question of, do you see the light, should always be a resounding yes. For God, by way of Jesus, has filled us with the light that is His love. Therefore, we must open our eyes to see where the light is needed all around us. We must have open eyes to see the light of Jesus. We must have open hearts, open eyes, open ears to see, hear, and feel the needs around us. And we must act. It's not enough to simply keep the Sabbath. We have to mean it. We have to feel it. We have to experience the light, and we have to to illuminate the world around us. We have to act. In the Blues Brothers movie, I knew I'd get it wrong. In the Blues Brothers movie, Jake and Elwood respond to the question, do you see the light? By them literally being enveloped, illuminated by this light, this bluish light. Jake goes down the aisle, dancing, doing flips. It's quite a sight to see. Well, I don't expect anyone to come flipping down the aisles or dancing down the aisles. I do believe that we are called to respond. During our hymn of response, which is hymn number 499, open our eyes, Lord. I'll be down front. If you'd like to join this community of believers known as Longview Baptist, I invite you to come. If you don't feel comfortable walking the aisles or flipping down the aisles, please feel free to speak with me following our service.